This is the story of how I quit my multi-six-figure job after going on just one date with someone so I could be with him forever. To give you some context, I was the vice president of a women's fashion company. We were doing hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. I had been with the company for 6 years, and I was 35 years old. And I met this British guy, and then within 6 months of meeting him, I was living with him. I was based in New York City, and he was based in a small city in the UK. And here's how it kind of shook out. In May of 2020, I checked out a library book. It was an audiobook to listen to on the drive from Chicago to New York, which is like 13-ish hours. It is not a short drive. And on this drive, I listened to the entirety of the audiobook. It was called Quit Like a Millionaire. It was by Christy Shen and Bryce Leung. And even though I already was aggressively saving and investing, and I knew about the financial independence retire early movement, there was so much in this book that I didn't know. It just like really opened my eyes. So when I got back to New York, pretty much the first thing I did was open up my laptop to look and see what was going on with their blog, because I actually wasn't a big reader of their blog. And the first post was about a new dating website just for people interested in financial independence, retire early, which of course I was like, oh my God, be still my heart. After all these years of random Bumble and Tinder dates, I can actually like target my ideal audience. Like, this is amazing. And so I created a profile and like pretty quickly started getting messages from guys like around the East Coast. Like, no one was in New York City, but they were like kind of not super far away. I was having a few phone calls. At this point, it's like July. And in August, I decided to go to my parents' house because again, like I was working from home somewhat because it was a pandemic. Although honestly, I was back in the office like, routinely by July of 2020. So, when you're 35 and at your parents' house and it's a pandemic and you can't see anyone, you don't really have a whole lot to do. And so I'm checking this dating app and I see that I got a message from a guy in the UK, which I thought was kind of like, this is a bit of a stretch, buddy. Like, it's a pandemic. We can't travel. Like, what are you thinking? But, I had nothing else to do. So I looked at his profile and I was like, oh, actually, we have a lot in common. And one of the funny features about this dating website was that you had to read all of the text before you could see the picture. And there was only one picture. So I read all the text and I was like, oh, okay, we actually kind of have a lot in common. So I'll just look at his picture. And I look at his picture and I'm like, oh shit, this guy's actually really hot. And because I'm shallow, I was like, well, let me just give him a chance. What's the worst thing that could happen? And we started having these phone calls and we ended up talking on the phone the whole drive that I had from Boston back to New York, which is roughly 4 or 5 hour drive. And then after that, we started video chatting on WhatsApp, and not just a little bit. I'm talking on weekdays, we're talking for 3 or 4 hours. And on the weekends, we're talking for 8 hours, the whole day. And basically this becomes my life. My life just turns into finding time to talk to this guy. And so by early November, I'm like, okay, I can't keep doing this. We need to figure out a way to meet up. So it turns out that actually the US and the UK are both allowed to enter Barbados. And so I was like, let's just go on vacation to Barbados together. We can afford it. It's actually cheap because of the pandemic. And so we booked a gorgeous luxury resort. We booked a suite. And we flew to Barbados. To be fair, the date was 3 weeks long. So I quit my job after this date with him, but it was 3 weeks. So maybe my hook was a little misleading. But anyway, so the first 2 weeks we stayed together in Barbados. And then the following week he came back into the US with me. He came to New York City for a few days, met some of my friends. And then he came home for Thanksgiving with me and met my parents. Now, he had to go back to the UK because he did actually have to go back to work. He works on ships at sea, so he needed to go out to sea. But the plan was basically he works for a month on and then a month off. So the plan was okay, he'd go to work for a month and then he would just come back and hang out in New York with me. We didn't really have a big plan. But then the UK went into lockdown and he could not leave the UK. Okay, this is getting super long, so come back for part 2.